Alright, almost a year after we did the movie, I did eventually find a copy of the game, so here it is.
I see what they did there.
Specifically, the HD quote unquote version that was for PSP and Xbox 360, developed by Chrome Studios, an Australian team that is mostly famous for Tasmanian Tiger, but they did develop a lot of licensed games, and this was one of them.
And the first two games of the Legend of Spyro trilogy.
That being said, some of the presentation can look a bit cheap, for example, like the loading screen and everything. Now, what kind of licensed game are we talking about here? Is it something that follows our protagonist from the starting place until the final confrontation? Not really. We're controlling an original new character that we can slightly customize at the beginning, but was already in training at the Guardian's place, the giant island, the giant with a giant tree. And then we'll do some side missions once things get kicked in, and eventually we'll join the other characters for the final battle. But we're mostly seeing something that was going on along the sidelines.
What's with the epic drums for when you're moving the cursor?
It's that's the thing. I kind of like the fact that the game, much like the movie, takes itself 100% seriously. It gives these again, it's much like the movie. I kind of like how they gives these traditional Lord of the Rings-esque fantasy vibe, just applied with these owls instead of humanoid characters.
If I ever play this game, I'd be tempted to do it to the beat of the Terminator theme.
For our protagonist, we can choose four different types of owl. Each of them has slightly different statistics.
Character customization.
It's only minor. It's just for here for the time.
So the second one from the left is the actual main character from the movie. I forgot his name.
Well, it's more like the species.
It's the type of owl, a barn owl. So we have barn owl, horn-tailed owl, great
spotted owl, and the barred owl.
Well, that's the thing. The icon for barn owl looks exactly like the main character.
But that's because it was from the same.
So of course it's the most well-balanced of the bunch.
I just took it because, again, what Joe just said. Again, this is actually a blind playthrough, so I wanted to go in relatively fresh. That being said, this is not actually that much of a hard of a game.
I wonder if there was.
Away from the cycles of strife and conflict.
I'm guessing none of the actors from the movie reprised their voice.
Nope,
for this.
There's no reprising from the movie.
Keep
in mind, we're only having a couple of the characters from the movie interacting with us.
If this were from any director other than Zack Snyder, the film, I mean,
also,
I wonder if anyone would have caved in to the urge, and the temptation to basically make every single name of a building or town an owl pun or something.
Also, while the story in itself, makes sense. So it's a story essentially about someone who has to redeem a family name, make a name for themselves. It's pretty much straightforward. If you're going in without having seen the movie or read the book, you might be confused with a lot of the terminology, and I don't even think there's a data log inside it. So you can actually, understand it on a basic level, but this is not a game for strict newcomers.
So what we're seeing is about a backstory, believe it or not.
This is just for the father of our characters, which was deemed as a traitor for apparently an accident that he caused. So, there you go. But he had a son, us.
Oh gee, I wonder if our father will see if he can find redemption or something.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said us, and I meant, wait, you gave birth to me, and Jova, and Pedro, and you?
Read between the lines, Drax.
We were the true heroes all along.
Beautiful.
Of course.
But basically, you were the chosen OC. I mean, the chosen character.
It's more of a like a SWAT case. We're basically the underdog. Nobody is taking us seriously, and they think ill of us because our father was considered a traitor. So we had to prove, our valor.
It must be pretty awkward if we're a different owl from dear old dad going.
Genetics be damned, Jova.
That or he cheated on his wife with a different species of owl.
Here we are. Tutorial prologue, actually.
You're not a guardian yet.
And yes, our protagonist is voiced by James Arnold Taylor.
You're going to get yourself killed, youngin. Stay close and out of trouble.
So, does the voice actor change based off of which
No,
owl
it's the
you
same,
select, or it's always
which can
the
make
same?
things awkward if you're actually using like a big owl, to be honest. So yeah, what kind of game are we playing? It's basically kind of like Ace Combat or any traditional flying type of game. And
Oh, nice.
it's immensely... I have to admit, as someone who normally doesn't particularly care about Ace Combat or these kind of games, it's immensely satisfying in how, you know, tight the controls are.
I won't lie, it does look dynamic and interesting and engaging.
The music is
enough.
also surprisingly
What's that
good.
for a fire? Put it out! Put it out!
I see that also. I see
It's
that.
it's not the same composer from the movie. It's an actual different composer called Winfred Phillips. Let me see. I think.
I also
Yeah,
see that.
yeah,
I also see that they're doing the Kojima thing, where as you start the game, the credits are playing over the course of
Yeah,
the
we
opening.
want to try the dynamic presentations and everything. Winfred Phillips has a extensive career. She's mostly been a main composer for a lot of Sony stuff, including part of the music of the first God of War, but also most of the Little Big Planet games. She's still getting work to this day, actually, so there's that.
Oh, so wait, is that the same one that also did the music for the NAC games, or?
Let me see. No, actually no.
Okay.
Okay. A bit of
Oh
a
never mind. I was mistaking it for the writer, the co-writer. Never mind.
The writer... Sorry, go on, Joe. I'll mention the writer later.
cheap-looking menu aside, it's not a bad opening for a
Yeah, it shows that Chrome Studios wanted to work on some, on some specific things and making sure that they could deliver a good quality product. Because the game is not too long. There's not much to do, actually. It's very linear, actually. But for the stuff that you have to do, and the stuff how the combat and the gameplay works, it's still surprisingly well presented and fun to play as.
Mm-hmm. I do wonder, is there online multiplayer given the different
No. This is a straight up licensed game, kind of like Battleship.
Is there any multiplayer?
No, I don't think so, actually. So it seems that everything was lost for our hero. But it was just a dream.
Are you even listening? Huh? Night dreaming again.
Yeah, protagonist, by the way, is called Shard.
This is his father.
Yeah, also another thing I had to say, the cutscene presentation is also a bit wonky. These are clearly pre-rendered FMVs, so they have a bit of blurring into them.
For once,
Alas.
it seems we are in agreement. However hateful the speech, a guardian never answers words with talons.
Yes, as a whip.
Yeah, as a whip, if you remember, is the mentor character that our protagonist
By
had.
Jeffrey Rush, I believe.
In this version, this game is actually voiced by Robin Atkin Dawes.
You've been rather harried lately with all the
So an Australian has been replaced by a Brit.
Nothing but time on my talons these days.
Dwebs, who put the Queen in their money? They're British.
No, they're not.
So now we're about to get so now it's time to get an actual tutorial.
Remember, Pedro, Drips doesn't like to admit the Australians are British.
Oh, no,
because it's his
I know
country
that.
Put them on that island in the first place.
I was just making a house joke. Dwebs gets it.
So one of the main gimmick that you also see in the prologue a bit is replicating that scene from the movie where the protagonist of that one actually used his talon to carry a burning piece of coal and slinging it like an actual projectile. So most of the gameplay is going to actually rely on that. The protagonist's shard can actually carry two at a time, and you actually have to destroy actual buildings with that.
I've always considered it Legends of the Guardians, Yazuka Hoole is essentially the owl equivalent to Warriors. Warriors is essentially this, but with cats. However, I ask if this is akin to Warriors in the sense that man in real life can be a factor, as in humans can actually affect the beings of the warrior cats here and there, to the point where they've had to move locations here and there.
No, humans, remember, both in the movie and in this, humans are completely absent. For all we know, this is a world or at least a set of places where humans are not, have not arrived in some cases. We don't even know technically what the time the movie or the story in general takes place in. So for all we know, this is in a stage where mankind was really underdeveloped.
My wonderance was also extending to the book in that case.
I still unsadly haven't found a copy to read, but I still actually plan to do it.
I'd say that was just about
I do like the
thank you.
idea that, for all we know, some of this hypnotism is done with just rudimentary things that would be junk to people like us.
But some crows have blocked the way.
Oh, very good. There's also you also have a kind of a rival
I
character.
need you to head out and clear
We've got a guy
Alamir?
down on the left, yeah.
Parzival will accompany you
Weird.
if
Was
you need
Alamir a
any
character
help.
from the movie?
Yes,
Oh, not him.
in this game is actually voiced by Andre Sogliuzzo, but your partner slash rival, Parzival, is voiced by Ben Diskin,
There's a crow dead ahead.
trying desperately to not do his number one impression.
Anyway, it seems that our main enemies in this game are crows.
You don't have much of an enemy variety. Crows are like the small kind of enemy. So you essentially need to lock in and then jump into the strike. When you do so, the camera tends to get a bit more obscured in order to make you focus on the target. But I do believe it's a bit of a detriment because you don't get to see if anything else is arriving. So if you're like focused on a single enemy and you're absolutely sure nothing else is coming, you might as well go for the taking. But you can potentially take a risk if multiple enemies are on the same time. And later stages in the game can get a bit chaotic.
One of Ben Diskin's early roles was in Hey Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Diskin. Now there's a name. I
Number
hear
one
time to
from
time.
Kids Next Door, Jova.
But he was
Love
also in
Gentleman Matt.
but he was also in Kindergarten Cop.
Also, he had roles into my actual favorite video games, Droopy Stooky McGonagall in Rogue Galaxy, and the name escapes me, the Samurai Demon character from Tales of Berseria.
Also, wasn't Kindergarten Cop a good Arnold Schwarzenegger movie?
And he's the voice of Mega Man.
Well, let me put it this way, Joe. But Kindergarten Cop is one of those 90s movies where if you know what you're getting yourself into, some 90s really dumb shit, it can be fun. You just have to know exactly what kind of thing you're getting yourself into when you watch
There you go.
that.
And then there's the Netflix remake of Kindergarten Cop, which, as far as I know, sucks.
Well, how about this? It gave us that iconic moment of Arnold going, "Shut up!" So there's that.
Also the line, that's not a tumor. But the yellow meter that you saw is your prowess, as it's called, essentially your special move meter. You actually fill it up by performing like a diving move, kind of like in the Batman Arkham games, by going down and then up. The flank controls, like I said, are very responsive and tight enough for you. And once it's full enough, you can even perform a special move your own, the corkscrew, which basically allow you to sprint forward in a drill-like move and deal damage to everything in front of you. Or you can actually call your wingman, again, like actual aerial combat, in order to actually assault the enemy from the side, taking them by surprise. Again, it's neatly varied enough, but anyway, in the meantime, the writer is actually a guy called Peter Aperlo. Doesn't have much under his belt, but he seems to be specialized in essentially just the tying video games from Zack Snyder movies, because he's writing for this, he did the writing for Watchmen The End Is Nigh, and he did the writing for 300 March to Glory. So there is that.
Amazing. Speaking of tying to movies, I wonder if we're ever going to tackle the Aragon movie video game at some point.
Did it add a PS3 version?
I think it did.
If it did, I might actually try to look into it. Who knows?
Let me check.
Basically, everything that's hold on. And now we're actually catching up to the movie plot. This is where the characters from the movie come in, even though they don't really look like we look in the movie.
Told the Parliament a harrowing tale of desperation.
Ready for battle.
It claimed they had been abducted by the Pure Ones, the same Pure Ones that I had fought so long ago. They took them with others to a grim place known as the Saint Aegidius, home for orphan owls, where they were put to work picking through discarded pallets.
Yeah, I remember in the movie they actually dig up the magnets that they used for their weaponry and brainwashing.
It is not yet known. Alan doubted the young owlets.
So if I'm to understand this correctly, The pure ones have risen from the dead, are building a slave army of moon.
Gee, I wonder if there's a twist villain in this group.
Gee.
Debris.
You think?
I was going to
Yeah.
defend the integrity of these owlets. I knew in my gizzard what they spoke was true. There was no dishonesty in Soren, no deception. Nothing but an earnest, sublime heart.
The only thing it would be missing it would be like if the council the council of the White Witch, they were wanted to have red eyes while they're at it.
The pure ones had truly returned. The parliament was adjourned and Alamir set out on his task. I, however, had other
Yeah.
plans. For a violation of the peace so blatant.
Yeah, Isrib actually has his own agenda, if you remember, also from the movie, trying to push things up in order to make Spirit the Guardian into actions when they were not. So, and one part of the plan includes actually motivate our character, Shard, and his rival.
Good of you both to come so quickly. We need to prepare and we haven't a moment to waste.
Sir, prepare for what?
Why, your departure on your missions, of course.
But we can't go on missions.
Uh-huh.
We're not even full guardians yet.
Just what do you think all those flint mops were?
This mission's about as ropey as your British accent.
With fine colors.
Swear, this whole story loved itself some British accents.
Me? Follow him? But Alomir and his jaw are already searching. Why send
Tell me,
us?
Dwibs, what's so majestic about British
I
accents?
trust you. And
Fancy.
It's how regal and authoritative it sounds.
Well, remember, Joe, but like the banned episode from Dexter's Laboratory, Root Removal, they have.
Alright,
Go on.
before actually going to... I divided the parts for the chapters where you're dealing with the locations. But before actually going to the next one, I'm gonna just show it for this one, because otherwise the parts will become too long. Otherwise, after you finish the main set of missions that you do in one location, you can actually roam freely in them and do side missions that allow you to, gain extra points that you can spend in different things, like, say, upgrades for your Talon armor, for example, or your actual main armor that Shard can actually wear. So it's encouraged also that you give him a try.
Don't stand a chance.
Sure. And also in order to, keep yourself in confidence with the actual, gameplay system. Go on, Pedro.
Have any of you guys seen the Dexter's Laboratory banned episode, Root Removal?
No.
It's the one where they swear.
Probably years ago. Oh, that old thing. Yeah.
Basically, Adult Swim finally released that from the fucking vaults and showed us a few years ago, and that's the only time it aired. Fortunately, the internet saved it. Basically, Dexter comes up with a new invention that removes the rudeness of a person. However, what it does is it catalyzes all the rudeness into a rude alter ego of that person, and as a result, all that's left of the original person is the politeness. Meaning, when Dexter and Dee Dee do it to themselves, they become all super polite and speaking with a British accent. They're all like, "Quite, it takes the rudeness of a person," and like they. And the rude versions are speaking still in their American accents and saying fuck and shit, but it's beeped, obviously. So.
They could have applied the Britishness to both the polite and the rude one. Is that we're very good at being polite, but we are amazing.
Like the
when
Cockney.
when we're being rude.
For example, the Warhammer 40k games have given the tradition of giving orcs a very stereotypical Cockney accent, because from the wars themselves of the developers, they actually did based on actual British hooligans.
It's the whole. Definitely.
Take me for example. I mean, my good side could be like, "Oh, hello, fellow members of SCWRM. So delightful to see you again."
Then you get a comedian that has an entire song that is called "Loads of Money," where he basically insults everyone and their mother just because he has cash in his hands.
But then my evil side could be something like, "What the fuck are you doing here, you stupid wankers? You should have been here half an hour ago."
That is actually a good point, though. For as much as people like to stereotype Brits as being the polite, regal, and upstanding folk, they can be pretty crass over there, honestly.
I know. It's like one thing I think we're really good at is we don't even really need to swear to be
definitely.
angry. All we
It's
have to
just
do
the
is just
attitude.
raise our voices.
Sure.
Do you actually have an experience with that comedian that I mentioned, that had this character literally called Lots of Money, that made even a song about himself?
I don't.
I'll give you a link after we're done today.
I don't know. That sounds like a rap. That sounds like something I heard about a rapper named.
Yeah, it
Fox.
does. The song actually does have some kind of rapping.
Also,
thing,
then there's no time to waste.
I was about to mention one of the side missions that you can do is actually flying through rings.
It's also from Warner Brothers.
Unlike in Superman 64, however, this is super generous because one, as you can see, your type controls allow you to, position yourself better. Keep in mind, remember, this is all blind, so I'm actually potentially screwing up for myself. And you have some kind of generosity in the
top speed.
In the actual rings that you can miss, like it's 3 or 5 or 10.
Sure. It's
It's like that
one of my
in Superman
favorites.
64 as well.
No. See, Joe, one of my cutscene now.
No, I'm just getting the results to show
Okay.
it.
Pedro?
But,
One of my favorites, Joe, is actually that joke in the first ever Family Guy episode where the Lotus is afraid that they're gonna be in. Actually, no, it's not in the first one. But it's in season 2. Sorry, never mind. I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
But the point is, season 2, the one where they think gangsters are after them. So Lotus is all scared, and Peter's like, oh, okay, don't worry, I got the perfect plan. We'll move to England. I mean, the worst they have right there is drive-by arguments, and then it cuts to. A Brit in the car sends out the guy that's on the crosswalk. Oh, Reginald, I disagree, and then he flies off in the car.
Danger.
Anyway, Tio, about the Aragon video game. So it turns out it has pretty much everything except a PS3 version. It has a PS2
then it's
version,
kind of out of my
Xbox version,
jurisdiction right
it has
now,
an Xbox
Jova.
360 version, and apparently a version on Steam.
Which game is that?
It actually has a PC version.
Yes, it has
The
a PC
Aragon video
version.
game.
Oh, the Aragon video game. Oh, so it's kind of like the first Cars video game, because the first Cars video game is also available on everything except PS3.
Anyway,
It also has a version on Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS,
Well, the
PlayStation
portables usually tend to
Portable,
be different. I'm talking about just the home consoles.
and a mobile phone handheld gaming system.
Java. Remember back then, mobile games were just Java. Anyway, for this mission, you're supposed to actually catch up little outlets that the crows have kidnapped and actually bring back to the nest. And yes, you can actually do. I think there's actually a trophy tied to that because I do distinctly remember that there are trophies. Yeah, there you go. They will show up actually later, also because I do game them, didn't pay it. But there you go. You have do a barrel roll.
Also, you got a trophy earlier that's at top speed.
Yeah, we have a one later that has a bit of Australianism that says title is righto because this location is called title. We also have. Remember, Java. This also was 2011, so we have a O'Reilly reference with a trophy called O'Reilly.
It was Titus, actually, German.
Oh, right, Titus.
Taito's the group that made Space Invaders.
And they also made the Superman Game Boy game. Yes, they had a second one for the record.
We also have the classic combo breaker. Cannot, miss that.
Counterculture.
Yes, we also even that.
Wow, that's
Wow, these trophies.
Pedro,
There it goes. Combo breaker. Wow, I mean, this game.
this game likes its references, definitely.
Yeah, mostly for the trophy ones. You can tell that Chrome Studios love to do some tongue-in-cheek with those. But like I said, the game itself takes itself very seriously anyway. You're just having fun a bit with, accomplishing this mission, which is fine.
The game is just throwing trophies at you.
That's because, keep in mind, I'm just getting them, kind of casually like that. Some of these are still a bit harder than others, like, again, reaching top speed itself and maintaining it, or something like we mentioned, destroy, interrupting an attack from an enemy, something like that. So, go on.
The notion I'm getting from this is a game of, well, I don't want to say strictly ace combat, but, your typical flying through rings sort of control scheme. However, obviously they toned down the difficulty for it to be a lot more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say it actually works in a good way so far from what we've seen.
Difficulty-wise, okay, I think this game has like a Peggy 7 kind of rating. I actually forgot to check. Just because sadly the cover that I got did not. The game did not have a traditional cover. Unfortunately, I got it in like a bootleg one, which did not have, the actual Peggy rating on it. Sadly, the vendor for some reason had only the disc, and I was like, sure, I'm just gonna get it because the copy was actually rare to find.
Yeah, that happens.
That being said, I didn't even have to spend that much. I think it was like $18 tops. So for a game like this, it's fine.
The wonders of the used game market. Granted, sometimes it suffers because you can't get it with, the proper
Honestly, Joe, it's even a bit better because in my country, again, in my country, you expect to buy a video game like in a big city, like Milan in my country. But when you find on Amazon, you have these games like this one that normally you would expect like a collection, like a person who collect them to have it or something, or like a big chain to give it to you, that are just instead held by like newspaper sellers who have them in stock in their actual basement or something, and they're like in a small secluded village, but it's like smack in the middle of the mountains, and you don't even know how the game got there.
But God bless Amazon for giving you the means to get it.
Yeah, that too. And I'm just gonna showcase the other two.
But yeah. Honestly, this is the kind of tie-in game that seems like it would be a nice surprise. Don't get me wrong; it's not to the levels of, say, Spider-Man 2 amazing bouts, but honestly, it
does its job.
Good. I'll
looks fine.
just say this. I still am wondering what kind of black magic the team behind Spider-Man 2 did to make a tie-in game that had to be rushed to reach development with it that amazing.
That's because Jamie Fristrom was very passionate about wanting to create a Spider-Man swinging system where physics took over.
The Blu-ray that I got, the Blu-ray copy of the game that I got has both the German rating and I think what's supposed to be the American rating. Germany gives it a 6, which means 6 plus, while I guess for the American one it's rated G actually.
So E for everyone.
Basically.
Actually, no, it can't be American because the SRB doesn't have this kind of rating. Whatever.
Yeah, I was about to say.
My bad.
But, yeah, though, I mean, Spider-Man 2, it's not just the gameplay, it's also the story, too. Okay, it tells the story of the movie, mixed with its own original stuff, while also being a sequel to the story of the first Spider-Man movie video game as well, with continuity.
Yeah. I wonder...
You got stuff like the Shocker returning from that one, references from previous ones, cool little Easter eggs and whatnot. It's truly amazing. And honestly, the standard that I feel like not only video game.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna say, did Crow Studios take inspiration from Spyro, Legend of Spyro 3, but they weren't involved in that one.
Hey Jova,
You're saying, Pedro?
Look, Harry, I know you think Spider-Man killed your father. Oh, come on, you don't know?
I remember the fact that
the first scene in Spider-Man 2. Harry, I know you think Spider-Man killed your father. He did kill my father. He immediately responds.
Oh, actually, I was thinking instead of a scene with the butler in Spider-Man 3 where the actor constantly fucked up.
Nah, that's a completely different scene. But Jeff, if you want to know more, go to YouTube and check Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, the developer reacts to Spider-Man 2018, and he tells briefly the story of how that came to be, basically.
Oh yeah, funny story. In the editor's cut of Spider-Man 3, that infamous scene where Harry's butler tells him about Norman Osborn's death, that scene is removed.
Wait, removed from...
Seriously?
Wait, from which version?
The editor's cut of Spider-Man 3.
What's the editor's cut?
The editor's cut?
Basically, it was a cut that tried its best to try and fill in a couple of mistakes from the original Spider-Man.
Well, that's the thing. That scene is not a mistake. That's the thing. That scene is not necessarily a mistake. It's just that it should have come before.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. I think that was the reason why it was cut. It was apparently so infuriating to people Why didn't you tell him before you?
Okay, that shows tone deafness on their part. The reason people get angry with that scene is not so much because of the scene itself, it's because why the fuck did he wait so long to tell him this?
Yeah.
It's not the scene itself that's the problem, it's its placement in the trilogy.
I'm serious though, this is the first I'm hearing about an editor's cut. I'm guessing that cut was not really a success because...
Well, it's like one of those, it's available digitally.
But not physically.
It's like Spider-Man 2.1.
Is that the version that they put on, oh, hold on, it's,
Okay. So, what are other things that the editor's cut does? Would you say that they're good or overall bad?
That's the thing though, Jover. All I can tell you is what I've heard about it. I haven't been able
Well,
to
Jova,
watch
there's
it.
that website that confronts different versions of a movie. I might actually gonna check that out in between
God.
parts.
well, okay. On which I'm guessing, on which streaming service is Spider-Man free, and I'm guessing Netflix, since Sony doesn't have a streaming service?
Last I checked.
But plus it's on those ones where you flat out buy the movie or rent it. It's like
Yeah, because like, is the Netflix version the editor's cut?
no.
Okay, well, so what exactly is it? Is it like a unique DVD Blu-ray release of it that has the editor's cut?
From what I understand, the movie's almost the same. They just tighten a few scenes or cut some out.
Too little,
so-
too little, too late by this point.
Is it as much to change as Spider-Man 2.1?
I
Nah,
don't know. I haven't seen that.
Well, 2.1 is the actual director's cut by Sam Raimi himself. This is an editor of the movie coming in with his own cut without Sam Raimi even being involved, it seems. So it's a weird situation. I've never heard of an editor's cut in movies.
Okay, the website they normally use for comparison doesn't list Spider-Man 3. So,
Again. What's the site called? I could use that for future reference.
movie censorship for some reason. Like, despite the titles, it doesn't really talk about that. But also, let me mention something briefly. First, as you have seen, if you pull enough a high enough combo, your tunnels actually catch on fire and you do actually more damage to the enemy. So it's actually encouraged that you keep your combo going. But also another good tactic is that you can, instead of attacking enemy, you can actually grab it, and then depending on where you shift the analog stick, you can actually yank them in that direction. A good tactic is normally to throw them in the air and then immediately follow them in chasing it like in Dragon Ball Z. You literally do that. But another preferred tactic, which is something that I actually rely upon a lot, is instead get close to the ground, grab the enemy and throw it onto the ground, because that guarantees a lot of damage. In fact, you actually gain a trophy actually for doing that a lot. So developers probably knew.
That's a lot of damage.
Yep. Like I said, I will not showcase all these different side missions for different chapters because, as you can see, they are pretty much straightforward and don't offer much. So I'm gonna just stay strictly story related for the next parts.
Yes, Pedro?
Actually, I wasn't saying anything, actually.
Oh, it sounded like you were trying to
No.
reference something under that.
I'm good. Oh, well, technically what I said was a flex glue reference, so... or a flex tape specifically. To demonstrate the power of flex tape, I saw this boat in half!
And the amazing thing, it works.
Also, another thing to mention that will become more apparent later. Not apparent, but it will be showcased later. One thing that I think Wibbs did mention, or someone else, when we discussed briefly about the game while commenting on the movie, this game actually takes some inspiration from materials that were in the book, but the movie did gloss over. However, it's not that much. It's just adding a bit of variety to the scale of the war that the Guardians are fighting against the Pure Ones. So it's a nice touch, but it's not that much as far as I know. But like I said, it's still, I'm still curious enough to actually check on the book. Also, you're not hearing it now because, again, which is just like a traditional minor horde mode that you're fighting with the crows in the main hub that is like our first chapter. But later, most of the pure ones mooks will be voiced by Nolan North and Steve Blum, and you'll become very apparent. So yeah, tuning next time, where for the joy of dweebs, thank God that he cannot listen right now since it's BRB, we start the second chapter, which is in a desert. So see you for that.
See ya.